about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free with Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first A-Level Geography live revision session. And today it's Jim here at Tutor2, and today we're looking at global systems. Let's go over to the Geography Live Lounge to see who's presenting today. And it's Abja, Rahman, and Alice who are with us today. So give us a wave.
Hi, everyone.
To say hi. Great to see you. And well, we've got about 30 minutes, haven't we, for this live revision session on global systems. So, Alice, do you want to give us a flavour for the kind of topics we're going to be looking at, how the session works, how you'd like the chat window to work, and then as soon as you're ready, give me a wave and a nod, and we'll set the activities off on the screen here.
Great, thank you, Jim. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working on global systems. So essentially half of that first topic on paper 2. So the human geography, and then we'll catch up with global governance next week. The session is designed around you interacting with us. So if you know the answer, for example, to a multiple choice question, do put A, B, C, or D, whichever you think is the correct answer, in the chat, and then we can see how you're all doing. That would be great, much more interactive and fun. And we're going to split the activities between us. I think I am starting. So Jim, if we could have the first question for our multiple choice questions. Thank you. Okay, question 1. A rapid and huge increase in the amount of economic activity taking place across national boundaries is one definition of, is it A, globalization, B, the noughties, C, the 21st century, or D, migration? Have a think. Okay, nice easy one to get you started. So lots of people saying A, which is the correct answer. Thank you. That is the correct answer. It's a definition of globalization. Now, of course, there are loads of different definitions of globalization, and this one comes from the TUC, or the Trade Union Congress, who finish off their definition with, which has an enormous impact on the lives of workers and their communities everywhere. So the TUC, an organisation interested in perhaps the erosion of workers' rights with an increase in trade across international borders. Question 2, please. Remittances are important to many countries in the 21st century, but what are they? Are they A, economic migrants, B, payments sent by family of foreign workers to help them abroad, C, migrants who return home from living and working abroad, or D, payments sent by foreign workers to family back home? Aha, and I've got a C of the correct answer, which is in fact D. Sorry to confuse you. So yes, remittances are payments sent by foreign workers to family back home, and very, very much essential to lots of countries around the world. We might think of South Asian workers who are based in the Middle East, perhaps in Qatar, sending money back to family back home. Next question, please. Flows of people worldwide have created diaspora, but what does the term diaspora mean? Is it A, people with similar heritage who live in multiple countries, or B, people with dissimilar heritage who live in a single country, C, people with dissimilar heritage who live in multiple countries, or D, people with similar heritage who live in their homeland? One to read carefully, I think. Thank you for those people contributing in the chat. And again, lots of people getting the right answer, so well done. The answer is A. People with similar heritage who live in multiple countries. And I was reading just recently that India, with 18 million people living around the world, claims to have the largest group of diaspora worldwide. Next question, please. Question 4. In a globalizing world then, what social or cultural phenomenon has helped all diaspora stay in touch? Is it A, Bollywood, B, global marketing, C, social media, for example, Facebook, or D, K-pop? Got a bit of more of a mixture of answers there, I would say, but lots of people, well done to you, saying C, which is the correct answer. And of course, Facebook in the news as well, because we've got the key theme in this topic about the tussle between transnational corporations or global corporations and nation states. And Facebook, one of those FANG corporations of Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, who have been flexing their muscle in Australia recently. And if you want to know more about that, look into it. It's about news and news media. Next question, please. Aha, I'm handing over here.
Right, over to me. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many of you here. I think there's over 300 of us. This one's the 60-second challenge. What you have in front of you are all factors of globalization. So if you think at the start of global systems, factors of globalization, you're going to have 60 seconds now to match them up to real-world examples. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So if you could give me answers like, for example, D4, C8, or whatever you think it might be. Jim, you can get it started. Okay, remember to match the letters up with a number. Thank you, Eve, Jack, Freddie, well done. Thank you, Matthew. It is a bit like countdown. Yeah, lots of you saying A5. Correct. Try and get as many as you can. Some people going there for B8. Nice. Last 5 seconds. Yeah, so great stuff there. Right before we see the answers, just take about 20 seconds or so. Have a look at the rest. I know maybe 60 seconds wasn't enough there. So just before we get Jim to reveal the answers, just have a look, see if you can do some final ones. I know I was calling out A5 as being one of the correct ones, but there were several, and there are still some coming in now. Thank you. Right, Jim, let's go for the answers then. So here we go. So it was A5, transport systems, and that containerization was the example. You'll know about containerization. It's covered through a breadth of all the schools as being something really, really major and something that's revolutionized world trade, both in terms of how far trade can go, but also the volume. Information and communication technologies and systems, we have broadband internet. Think of where we would have been in this last period of lockdown with people working from home without broadband internet. Security relationships, you'll know about NATO, the North American Treaty Organization, as being quite important in securing countries in relation to conflict. Financial systems, you may have learnt about the deregulation of the City of London. If you haven't, I highly suggest looking into it yourself. And then you can see the rest of the answers in there. So just take some time there to have a look at. Probably another really important one that we will revisit definitely next week in our global governance section is the international institution known as the International Monetary Fund. But thank you for that. Over to you, Alice.
Brilliant, thanks. Okay, so this one is called the connection wall. So imagine you've got your highlighters out and you've got to sort these terms or places or things into 4 groups. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to start with, just to have a look at what we got on the screen and work out if they might be in any common groups. So if I give you a hint for the first one, countries that work together in a certain way. Good. Thank you, Lottie Scott, and a few others. Lots of good answers coming in for the different types of groups, because obviously we've got 4 groups to find. Okay, shall we have a look at the first group then, please? So first of all, we've got 4 trade blocks there. We've got Mercosur, NAFTA, ASEAN, and the EU or European Union. These are key trade blocks that allow countries, member countries, to work together more closely in terms of trade. And lots of other ideas. So let's have the second grouping, please. Thank you. So the MINT countries, MINT standing for Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. These are emerging major economies that investors have more recently seen as a good bet because of the way that their economies are growing rapidly. Lots of people got that in the chat. Right, let's have a look at the third group. So the third group are transnational corporations. So Kraft, Coca-Cola, Apple, and Tata. And lots of people got that really very, very quickly. These are global or transnational corporations. They're working all around the world with very complex global production networks. And so we can see what the final grouping will be, but what links them? That's the question. What links them? Aha. Well, I can see Nalia and Charlotte Wright have got it off the blocks. So if we can see the last grouping, please. They are dimensions of globalizations, and they are all flows. So if we think about globalization being sort of in the ether, can we really see it? These are the ways that we experience globalization through flows of people or labor, flows of information through the internet, flows of capital or investment, and the flows of products and, of course, services. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Abdurrahman for the bubble quiz.
Thank you, Alice. I got just distracted there for a second. I saw one of my year 12s getting shouted out there. So well done, Nyla. So this quiz here is called a bubble quiz, and the way it works is that anything between 0 or 4 answers could be correct. So you may see something, and it could be that actually 0 of the answers are correct, or all the way up to 4 of them are correct, or actually 1, 2, or 3. So let's have the first one, please, Jim. So which of these countries represented are the BRIC economies? So either feel free to tell me the letters or the number of which are correct there. And feel free to tell me which ones are clearly incorrect if you think that they're clearly incorrect. Yeah, loads of people coming in here. Tell me the ones that are incorrect, and if you can, tell me how this could become correct. Yeah, lots of people saying C and D. Are you able to tell me what A and B should be instead? Yeah, so a lot of people correcting us here. Yeah, let's go for the answers on this one, Jim. Great. So clearly Russia and Brazil were correct, but Bolivia and was not correct. It was meant to be Brazil, and the I is not for Iran. It's, as we know, for India. Let's have the next one, Jim. Well done on that one. So, number 2, which of the following of these are types of interdependence, which is a really, really key concept at A-level geography. So we've got political, social, economic, and environmental. Let's give you 30 seconds and tell me in the chat. If you have any examples that you know of potentially economic interdependence or environmental independence, drop them in the chat as well. It might take you a little bit longer to type, but feel free. Lots of people, some people saying 3, some people saying 2, but the majority here saying A, B, C, and D. Jim, let's have the answers for this one. Yeah, you're 100% correct. It had to be all 4, and these are all listed in the spec. So you might look at political interdependence in relation to the EU and central decisions at the EU level affecting all the countries within it. Clearly, obviously, not us anymore in the UK. Environmental dependence in relation to something like the Paris Agreement, or economic interdependence in something that we've looked at before, which are trade blocks. So trade blocks like Asian. Let's have the final one then. Sorry, the 3rd out of 4. So the purposes of trade bloc may be A, reduce exports from member countries, B, create a customs union amongst members, C, promote growth of member economies, or D, to ease trade between member countries. So which one of these are correct? Let me know in the chat. Thank you before Marianne and Madam SG for giving us some longer answers. So people saying B, C, and D. If you think one is incorrect, then go ahead and tell us in the chat why it might be incorrect. You're thinking something is quite obviously wrong. Prove to me why that's obviously wrong if you can. But yeah, let's have the answer for this one, Jim. I think for those of you who know about trade blocks, it was clear that B, C, and D were correct, and A was incorrect. The idea behind trade blocks is to encourage trading, so A had to be 100% incorrect there. Let's go for the 4th one then. Which of these countries of the Americas are a part of NAFTA, now known as USMCA? Is it Mexico, USA, Canada, or Cuba, and or Cuba? So let me know in the chat, and that's an easy one, I think, to finish up. Thank you, Ronnie, for your contributions before, and Katie as well. Well done. Yeah, let's just finish up this one then, Jim. Final sort of easy one. Clearly, it's Mexico, the USA, and Canada. As you'll know, it's actually not known as NAFTA anymore. It's USMCA, which stands for US, Mexico, and Canada. Back to you then, Alice.
Thank you. Great. Okay. So the idea with this 3-2-1, and you might want to grab a scrap of paper, is to think about case studies as such as we have them at A-level. We need to know about the world trade in one food commodity, or you might have done a manufactured product. At Tutor U, we look at cocoa. So we're going to have a think about cocoa, but basically what I'm going to need you to do is jot down, I'm going to give you a bit of time, 2 minutes, 3 facts about the pattern of production of whatever you studied. So 3 facts about the pattern of production, 2 facts about the pattern of global consumption. So thinking about where in the world this is being consumed or purchased. And then 1 fact about differential market access. So it might be that linked to this case study, you have thought about where it is that countries can sell into or can't sell into. That's 1 fact about differential market access. Okay, so you'll have 2 minutes to answer these questions. Go. Or 90 seconds anyway. Okay, so I'm guessing our time is just about up. Let's have a look at our 3 facts about the pattern of production of cocoa. So here, lots of people have studied bananas. We're just looking at cocoa. So appreciate you might have jotted down some different things about bananas, but cocoa, a third of it of the global production of cocoa is actually grown in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa. This is partly because cocoa requires a tropical climate. Obviously, it's grown in other countries around the world, but a third of it coming from 1 country is significant. And then in 2019-20, almost 80% of cocoa produced took place in the African continent. So it's a good example of a kind of raw commodity that is sold on to other countries who then turn it into something that we want to eat. Let's have our 2 facts. So I asked you for 2 facts about the pattern of global consumption. I can see people are telling me quite a lot about bananas and where they're eaten now, so thank you for that. Interesting that the highest producer of bananas is in fact India, but perhaps not the highest consumer. So largest consumer countries for cocoa or chocolate are of course highly developed economies or high income countries. 8 out of the top 10 are actually in Europe. So you probably eat quite a lot of chocolate, and so do I. That's true across Europe. In terms of consumption patterns that are changing, the new middle class in emerging major economies, for example, in Brazil, they have a new middle class, which is a new big opportunity for producers to sell to. And that's perhaps just reflecting that world trade changes over time. Let's have our last fact then. Thank you. So I asked you for a fact about differential market access because the point of studying this case study is really to get you to start thinking about how something is produced in 1 set of countries, eaten or purchased in another set of countries, and whether actually something is happening in between to sort of change that relationship or change that flow of products, something called differential market access. So are some countries protecting their markets? And certainly within Europe, this is the case for cocoa. So they have a special within the EU. They have a definition of what counts as chocolate, as opposed to something called vegulate, if it's got too much vegetable oil in. And Divine Chocolate, which you might have heard of, it's a fair trade chocolate, it's very delicious, is unique because it's the only chocolate company in Europe which has a large ownership stake by African farmers. So it's one to look out for in terms of fair trade choc. Thank you. So lastly, but not least, we've got more activities, but I just wanted to, from me, to talk about this, which is an anagram. It's a conundrum, and you're going to have 30 seconds to solve it. I'm going to give you a clue, which is Coca-Cola, and then your 30 seconds will start. Thank you. Great, let's have a look at the answer. Exactly, global marketing. Lots of people got that. I think Phoebe H was the first, and MM, you were pretty fast as well. So brilliant, well done. And global marketing being key to the way that some TNCs are now approaching addressing a global market. So a bit of globalization going on in terms of McDonald's changing its burgers, changing the name of its burgers around the world. But lots of companies alternatively like Coca-Cola just taking that approach of, you know, this is our global brand, and buy into that across the world. Thank you. I'd like to hand over now.
Thanks, Alice. This next bit is on red herrings. So what I want you to find out is which of the 4 items is the odd one out. And after telling me which one is the odd one out, please tell me in the chat why it's the odd one out. So I'm sure you've heard of red herrings before, or just generally things that are odd ones out. So if we could have the first one, Jim. So Greece, Germany, United Kingdom, and Poland. Which one of these is the odd one out? Let's give you 30 seconds. Have a think about why as well. Okay, thanks, Ben. Why would you say the UK? Or in general, anyone who might say the UK? Or Greece? Why Greece, Dan? Thank you, Joe. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, thank you for the rest of you who are doing this. Let's have the answer then, Jim. Yeah, if you're up to date on current news, the UK left the EU at the end of the 31st of January 2020, and so therefore is no longer part of the world's largest trading bloc. Let's go for number 2, Jim. Which of these 4 items is the odd one out here? Is it Unilever, Tata, Toyota, or Nissan? And again, if you could explain why that's the case. Okay. Thank you, Jamila and Natea, for coming in first. Interesting, Joss, but not the right reason. Interesting, Sammy, but not the right reason there. No, Anna, definitely Unilever is definitely a TNC. But a lot of people saying Unilever. Maybe the reason was not there. But let's go for the answer then, Jim. It was Unilever, but for different reasons. The reason being that Tata, Toyota, and Nissan are companies based outside of the UK. They're all TNCs in here, but they have foreign direct investment within the UK, whereas Unilever is actually based in the UK but has foreign direct investment elsewhere in countries like Nigeria, for example. Let's go for number 3 then, Jim. Okay, so tougher one, this one. Trade liberalization, trade tariffs, domestic subsidies, and import quotas. Which one here does not fit the bill? For one, this. Think about what might tie 3 of them together, and therefore does not tie the last one. MM coming in again. Well done. Used the only person so far to have used that key term. Yeah, Samuel has used it as well. Saffron as well. Nice. I think that I'd expected this one to stump a lot more people than it did. But let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one then. It was trade liberalization. So just remember that protectionist policies are there to protect what we call domestic producers, right? So for example, if you started putting import quotas, which are labeled there as D, on cars, and therefore limiting the amount of cars entering, let's say, the United Kingdom, you are protecting British car manufacturers. So by stopping the flood of other products into a country, you therefore protect your own manufacturer. So yes, they were all protectionist policies, but trade liberalization, which is obviously the exact opposite. Let's go for 4 then, Jim. Oh, that's it. Over to you, Alice. Sorry.
Over to me. Thanks very much. So yeah, it'd be great to get an A-level based on multiple choice questions and bubbles. But in reality, we're going to have to write some slightly longer answer questions. So towards the end, we just wanted to get you thinking about how we go about answering some of these questions, and particularly reminding you that we need to put in a counter argument to balance up our arguments when we're discussing something. So if we think about the question on the screen, can we give 2 disadvantages for the host country of TNCs operating there? What might be a disadvantage of a host country operating there? You might automatically think about the advantages. Let's see those, Jim. So the advantages would be clearly an increase in employment opportunities and potentially something that encourages a transfer of skills and facilitates homegrown enterprises. But even if you were trying to be upbeat about TNCs and how they bring benefits to host countries, you need to balance that up. So I can see some good ideas like profit repatriation. We've got poor working conditions in the chat, some good ideas here. Environmental destruction, thank you for that one. Low wages for employees. And tax avoidance. And of course, tax avoidance, Saffron, would have that knock-on effect of really not benefiting the country locally. Good. So let's see what we had. You've got loads of good answers. We had exploitation of weaker legal system resulting in worker exploitation, as we've seen, poor working conditions, and also loss of tax earnings as taxes might be set attractively low in export processing zones, for example, but then actually means the government's got nothing to build the roads with. Great, thank you. So let's have a look at the next get the balance right question. So can we think of 2 disadvantages of globalization? Remember, at the end of this topic, we need to be able to provide a critique of globalization. Now, the advantages might be obvious to you. Let's have those, Jim. So on the one hand, we've got global income and wealth growth has accelerated at a faster rate than world population increase. So that means that someone somewhere is getting richer as a result of globalization. Equally, we've got the idea that former, less developed economies have become emerging major economies, EMEs. For example, we've talked about the BRICS and the Mint countries today, haven't we? So those advantages might be obvious to you, but can we think of counter arguments? Can we come up with disadvantages? And I'm going to have a look in the chat. We've got things like job displacement. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We definitely see that in some things. Homogeneous, I can't say it myself. Everyone's got the same culture. Absolutely. I think that is a concern, isn't it? We're all living in the same place, eating the same stuff. Thank you, Duncan Hall. You can spell it as well. Great. Okay, so let's have a look at what our disadvantages were. So we talked about air quality, which potentially came into the last question as well, didn't it? Changing air quality in China's major cities, clearly a manufacturing hub, dubbed as an air apocalypse resulting from industrial growth. But then some people, picking up on what you said in the chat, the deindustrialization of cities and regions in HDEs have resulted in multiple socioeconomic problems. And we might think of Detroit with this. We might think of some of the big cities in the UK that have lost key manufacturing companies. And once those jobs have gone, lots of other jobs go as well that were linked to them. So we've got all the deindustrialization of regions in HDEs. And as people were saying, the poor potentially get poorer as a result. So remember to think about with globalization, its impact at different scales, local and regional scale, as well as national and global scale. Great, I'm going to hand on now.
I just want to echo what Alice has said. I've just you've seen me sort of speechless for the last 5 seconds or so, but the answers that are coming through in the chat are absolutely amazing. I've been sat here with my pen scribbling away at some of the things that some people have said. The quality of the answers has been amazing. Let's finish off then with one final conundrum. Let's have it, Jim. Yeah, there we go. You've seen this one crop up before. 99% of people, again, that's correct. Let's have this one then, Jim. Interdependence. You've seen this crop up a lot today and throughout your A-level. It's one of those massive overarching topics. And if you understand interdependence and get how it works and can think of examples, then you're doing something right. Well done, everybody. We'll hand back to you then, Alice and Jim.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Well, I've enjoyed it. I don't know about you, Jim.
Abdurrahman and Alice, what a fantastic session on global systems. I was watching the chat window there. It was going bananas. In fact, a lot of the chat window was about bananas.
Yeah,
fantastic
absolutely.
answers and lots, particularly as we were looking at that find the balance question there with lots and lots of disadvantages of TNCs and globalization. Super stuff.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah, thanks for all your contributions today, and hopefully we look forward to some of you joining us for global governance this time next week. But in the meantime, good luck with any essays you've got to crack, and see you then.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Alice, Abdurrahman, thanks very much for putting together this fantastic session. I think we're on the same time next week. We've already got that scheduled on YouTube. So in the chat window, we've got a few seconds left. If there are some other topics beyond global governance next week that you'd like us to cover in these sessions, please let us know, because that will be really helpful as we plan them. Obviously, schools and colleges going back in a couple of weeks, starting the week commencing March the 8th. We've got the 4:30 slot here for A-Level Geography, which might be a good slot to keep, but let us know if you think a later time or a different time would suit. That would be really useful to know. Whilst we're here, it would be really useful if you could give this session a thumbs up on YouTube, just to let YouTube know you liked it. And also, Alice and Abdurrahman get a big bonus if we get to 17,000 thumbs up by 5:30. And also, I said, I'm just kidding. But also, click the bell icon. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll get an alert every time there's a new A-Level Geography session lined up. But also, if you've got some other A-Level subjects, maybe economics or psychology or business or whatever, because we're doing lots of these live sessions across other subjects, so hopefully there might be something suitable for you there. But once again, fantastic session. On behalf of us all, thanks very much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.